And we're live.
We are live.
So I've been surfing the socials lately.
Yeah.
And it seems that all the people who want to start decorating for Christmas and listen to Christmas music, very, very defensive.
So
almost makes it seem like they know what they're doing is wrong.
Or they're big fans of parking the bus.
Soccer chat with 2 T's because we're going to chat about soccer, but we're also in Chattanooga. So it's like a play on words. And, you know, Chattanooga is a soccer city.
Hey.
All right, we're back. We're here.
Welcome to Soccer Chat.
You know,
episode 15.
At the beginning of the year, if you'd have said we're going to finish third and we're going to the playoffs for the first time ever, that we would be in the bestest of moods and we would be so delighted, but yet we're so ticked off because how we ended here in the past, 7 games.
I'm going to disagree. I don't know that I would have been. If you would have told me that you're going to have a team that all you had to do was win one game in your last however many versus inferior opponent to guarantee yourself a bye, and your team's going to basically disappear for 2 months. I don't know that I would have been happy. I would have been like, oh, cool.
That's not how I prefaced it, though. What I said was the actual end result, if going either cold with no information how the season went, if we said we're going to end up in third place and get our first time to be, and we would be able to host a playoff match for the first time, not knowing how it played out, that end result, if you told us that in March or April, I think we would have been quite happy. But the way it worked out, we're pretty upset.
So let me take it a step further for you, Jeff. Would you have been happy if you were told, regardless of where you finish, you don't get told where you're going to finish, but you're told the only way you win a championship is if you beat North Texas, Greenville, and Omaha? Would you have been happy with that?
Part of me would be, just because I really want to beat all 3 of those teams. But there's that aspect. But yeah, we have worked ourselves into an uphill battle.
The 2019 champion, the 2020 default champion, and the 2020, if we didn't go partying before the game started, their fans think they'd be champion.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's an uphill. Yeah, it shouldn't be. It should not be as difficult as we made it.
I honestly think I would be happy with that because I want my team to be a team that's in the mix, not a team that's essentially a T-shirt company that launders their money through having a soccer team.
Yeah, they beat us last week.
Then they celebrated like they had accomplished something other than missing the playoffs and getting ready to get their coach fired.
So I am happy that we're in the mix. I would have been happy if you had told me that we would be in that sort of boat going into the season. I think the greatest compliment that we can pay this team is that we finished the season with the highest finish in team history, hosting our first ever playoff game, making history, and we feel like they could have done so much more.
And add to that, it's not out of the realm of possibilities for this to not be the only playoff game that we could host if we go on a run. Like, it is not unreasonable to think that Richmond or Tucson could knock Omaha off in Omaha, and that ourselves, if we win our game, or Greenville, if they win when they play against us, would be hosting that final. Like, there's no guarantee that Omaha will still be there because both Richmond and Tucson aren't going to be pushovers in that game. So, yeah, I'll give them credit. Like, we're getting to host a game. We should theoretically be in a lot better position being at home than if we had to be the team going on the road. Like, I'd much rather, no one's really talking about this on the Twitter world, but if I had to pick between being the Richmond letdown, which is losing to Tucson, which creates a situation where you now have to go back to Tucson, or us losing to Madison, where now you have to host. Yes, we have to play an extra game, but we're still hosting. Richmond lost their game, lost the ability to host because they lost their game, and now have to travel to face the team that they would have hosted if they
it's
had.
not like they're just driving down the road to Greenville or Cary, North Carolina. Like
Yeah.
they've got to fly to Tucson.
Yeah, so
That's a tough order.
Yeah, and our situation is not great. Like I think any fan, regardless if you're a Red Bulls fan or whatever, if you were to tell them your choices are host the first round or get a bye and host the second, of course you're taking get a bye and host the second. But when you look overall, we're the 3 seed, which is the best you can be when you're in the first round. We still have a shot at hosting the championship game if we can win these next 2 games and someone helps us out in Omaha. And if they don't help us out in Omaha, we would have been going there for the championship anyway. So really all we cost ourselves was we got to go to Greenville instead of Greenville coming to us, assuming that Greenville would have beaten North Texas or we would have beaten North Texas. Like,
we knew we were going to face Greenville in the second week. It was whether or not we were going to face them at home or we're going to face them at Greenville. And to be honest, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. We play Greenville much better at our home. But with the game in front of us this year, even though we have not ended up on our form as great in the past few games, I think the last 2 wins were against North Carolina, but the win before that was North Texas. And we did get 2 wins and 2 draws at North Texas. So that's a really good record considering how North Texas manhandled us the first year.
Well, and I would note that if that was flipped, we're the 6th seed, right? So like the reason that we're in this position is because we took care of business with North Texas.
Yeah.
You flip that, and those 2 wins are losses. We're down 6 points. We're in 6th place, right? So the reason North Texas is not hosting us is because of those games. Now that said, I watched the highlight of the 4 games that the Red Bulls put out, and it didn't put me at ease. If anything, it worried me because it was highlights of all the cardiac games. It was 94th minute, 90, like literally keeper is up for a corner kick to tie the games. We can't depend on that because that, I think, is what got us in trouble is we always had in the back of our mind, well, we'll just come back. And that strategy, that style is one that if they get an early goal, it's different in the playoffs. It's a different, like you throw all 11 guys in there, that worries me. So my question to Alex is, are you expecting any sort of significant changes to the way in which we approach this game tomorrow?
I hope so. I hope they're learning their lesson. You're talking about the last 7 games, the way that we've struggled, the way that we fall behind. The book is out. If you play the Red Wolves, you sink your whole team, you park the bus in front of the goal, you look for an opportunity to counter with your speedier players, you maybe score off of some kind of marking, off of a set piece, off of a corner kick, and then you spend the rest of the game laying on the ball, cramping like you just ran the Boston Marathon. And it's horrible. It's terrible to watch. It's incredibly cynical, but by golly, has it worked. And, that's definitely what's going to happen. Those North Texas players are all going to be grabbing their hammies in the 30th minute if they have a 1-goal lead. So yeah, I hope that they're understanding. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring is looking at the stats. It's very frustrating that we could not have beaten any non-playoff teams in our last 4 or 5 games in order to put ourselves in a position to have a bye.
Right.
Fans driving back from academy tournaments in Knoxville in order to be part of history could have had a much better opportunity to be part of history.
Yeah.
But our play against playoff teams, and you're right, it's those cardiac games against North Texas. We had I think a 90th minute stoppage time winner against Richmond at home, or at least it was a comeback win, I believe. But we've got only 2 losses against playoff teams. We had that loss in Greenville with that semi-fluky, somewhat disputed red card. We had the loss on the road against Richmond. Other than that, we haven't lost against any of these playoff teams. The Red Wolves can raise their game against the top of the league, and it's almost as if they were taking it a little too for granted that they had to get just one win out of some of these games against non-playoff teams. That's out the window.
Yeah.
I can hear Coach Obleda all week at practice letting these guys know there is no tomorrow. Yeah. You have got to go out there. You have got to put the chances away because there is no tomorrow when it comes to this. And so I think that's something that's going to be positive. I think we have the talent on the team that can beat North Texas, that can go on the road and win in Greenville, and can go on the road and win at Omaha. I believe we have the coaching staff that can put those players in a position to do what's needed in order to win those games. Unfortunately, the results have not been there. So they've got to really prove it to me. I'm very nervous about this game. I am going to be a bundle of nerves all the way down the freeway from Knoxville trying to get to this game on time, and the whole time that the thing is being played until they have a 4-goal lead. But I think they can do it. This isn't the sort of thing where I want to see wholesale changes and I want anyone kicked out if this doesn't go through. I think we've got a great core that can keep us in the mix this season and come back and be in the mix next season.
Now,
so go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, if we can get back where we were a month or 2 ago, and I think a lot of that's mentality, where we were not dropping it. We were able to finish in the final third, and we took care of business, and we had that confidence that we're going to win the game. And it really wasn't that long ago. So absolutely agree. We have all the pieces right now, and they are all available to us. And I really hope Markey is one of those available to us. But they have, even without Markey, who has been very, very much missing, we have more than enough, and we have proved it against the top teams. We have taken points from everybody. And so on that aspect, what I am concerned about, and that is momentum. Momentum is what is hurting us right now, and momentum does favor North Texas. But this is playoffs. This changes everything. So what can Coach Jimmy do, or what's he going to do to get our heads back in the game?
So I think a couple things that you somewhat alluded to there. We were missing some pretty important parts down the stretch in various different ways. I think a big part that you didn't mention that's missing and will be missing, unfortunately, for the rest of the year is Jackson Dietrich. Yeah. I think he brought a lot to the table. That said, I do feel like his role is one that we had a lot of areas that we could fill in, and I feel like it's been filled in relatively well. But then you add to losing Markey like we did, having Rafa down like we did. That's a lot of attacking talent that was missing. And then we bring in Teixeira, and he gets hurt pretty early on and never really gets a chance to fully get into the side. That's not great. But one thing that was out there, there's a League One article, and League One actually put out quite a few playoff preview articles, like obsessively, like they did like a pick'em one, which they don't like us in that, so ignore that one. But they did like a tiers, they did a couple different ones. But on
they don't like us in that either.
Yeah, well, even on the tiers one though, they at least put us as challenging the crown, right?
I felt the tiers one was pretty fair, actually.
Yeah, they put the 2 bye teams at the top. That makes sense, right? You earn the bye, you earn the right to say you had the best chance at it, right? You're going to be hosting in the semis. The next round, I don't know that I agreed with Richmond being above FC Tucson, who just beat them at home in the same scenario. Seems kind of an odd thing to switch those, but fine. But they, for whatever reason, they put us in challenging the crown. even though later on someone else picks us to lose this game in the pick'em. But one of the things that's interesting, and I have an interesting take on this or my view on it, but I want to get Alex's view before I give mine. They say that Chattanooga had an expected goal differential of 14.48, which was the highest, and expected points, which is done off of stats, of 47.1, which was also the highest according to American Soccer Analysis. Assuming this would play out, if you were to play the season 3 times with the exact same teams, eventually it would play out that we would be the top. What do you think is the reason why we would have such a high expected goal and expected points and not the result?
I feel like it has to do with the way that we go about the attack. We had far too much isolating the ball out on the wings. I think maybe as part of Jackson Dietrich being injured, there was quite a few times where we saw Ricky Ruiz in more of that winger role, playing as kind of an 11 or out wide. Instead of, I enjoyed watching him in the middle as one of those number 10s, working with Carrera Garcia, being able to put passes together, being able to slide things to a winger like Ray Ortiz.
Yeah.
And so now that Rafa seems to really be going, Ray Ortiz is really hitting it. I hope to see Ricky. That's the thing with this kind of downturn that we've had. Ray Ortiz has been quite a bright spot, and I'm glad that he picked up when he did, and can really, that may be something that helps push us over the top. But to see Ricky move in and change that point of attack, get it into the middle. This is where I hope to see that Teixeira comes back, because I think he's very skilled in having that back to goal, making those passes to the players that are cutting, the wingers being able to kind of pinch in and be able to play off those instead of being isolated out on the wing, waiting for crosses that aren't really going to get anywhere. I think that's the biggest thing that's hurt us.
Yeah, so, I was going to say.
So real quick, the reason that I think expected goal and expected points is higher than it really is happening is we run the ball up the side and we cross, right? And crosses create shots, but not always good shots. But shots create expected goal and then in turn expected points from those goals. And our lack of ability to go through the middle really cuts down on our ability to get true quality plays. When we play a team that has a keeper that knows how to take a ball in the air, we showed this when we played Toronto, right? It almost completely shuts down our offense. And if you're able to come through the middle and challenge with through the middle, a one touch to the left, one touch to the right, a quick pass, a flick, a double cross where you cross to one side and you have someone coming in from the back and they cross it back over. That all comes from the middle. If you're coming down one side, you only have one way to go, and that's across the goal, which makes you predictable. When you come through the middle, you can go right, you can go left, you can go straight at it. Gives you a lot more options. Doesn't mean you can't come from the side. It doesn't mean that Marky's skill and Ray Ortiz's skill is not useful there, but it's only useful if it's a part of your attack, not your only attack. And I think for whatever reason, looking over the last, and maybe you're right, maybe it's the lack of Jackson Dietrich and pulling Ricky Ruiz out of where he should be because of where he can distribute. But I feel like Carrera Garcia could do that too, and he hasn't been. And I don't know exactly what's causing that either. So until you can figure out a way to establish that, is it Teixeira there? Is it bringing in Galindres earlier? What gets you that finishing that's been missing?
Well, I think, first of all, just going back to Ray Ortiz, I would say we would not be in third place if it was not for Ray Ortiz in the past few games, because the few wins we've had or being able to pull out draws, he has stepped it up and kept us alive. But I absolutely agree that we've become way too predictable out on the wings, and there seems to be a lack, at least when we get to that final third, of teammanship, of where there isn't the communication of follow through. It's either kick it as a cross or kick it where you're at and not set anyone up. And you talk about the wings being isolated. I really think it is, especially with Blake. I think Blake has been isolated quite a bit, and there's a distance. And I had noticed it seems like Jose Carrera Garcia right now seems to be playing even further back than he used to. And I would love to see him push forward. And yeah, ideally him and Ricky pushing up through the middle. I think that's really dangerous. And then actually setting up a play rather than just kicking the ball as soon as you get it.
All right, so let's look at who we're going to be playing against this weekend on tomorrow. You know, we're getting obviously North Texas. We talked a little bit about them. The most impressive thing that they've done in their run, and they've been on a bit of a run. I mean, they beat North Carolina, they beat Tucson, they did lose to Richmond, they beat Fort Lauderdale, they beat New England, and they tied Union, and they were very close to beating Union and not tying them. And that would have made it where we were playing Richmond this weekend. So thanks, Union. I would have much rather played Richmond. The most impressive thing to me was what they did to New England. New England had a red card, or North Texas had a red card. They won 4-1. Have you guys looked at this? If
Nope.
you had to guess when that red card happened, what was the score when that red card happened?
I'd have to get to that.
Well, I'm guessing from your setup that it was something like 1-1.
Yeah, it was 1-1. Red card in the 27th minute against North Texas, and they won 4-1.
Wow.
Okay? If that doesn't point out to you how good of an attacking team they are, then you are oblivious to how soccer works. Because when you go down a man to score 3 goals is not an easy thing to do. And those 3 goals, now granted, New England was pushing at the end, right? Because they needed the tie, and they were down 2-1. But they scored in the 57th, the 83rd, and the 89th minute. Like, that's a scary thing for me, because that says to me, we go up 1-0. We need to put it away. It needs to be 2. It needs to be 3. It cannot be a 1-0 game, because this is not a team that's going to let down. The other thing to keep in mind is we don't know what team we're going to get, because Dallas ain't going nowhere, right? Dallas didn't make the playoffs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So who's showing up in this League One game for MLS's last hurrah in USL? Because I wouldn't put it past them that the team that shows up are a lot of Dallas players.
It is definitely something MLS clubs love, to bring some extra players against the Red Wolves. Makes for a fun challenge, opportunity to see some of those type players. Or is it going to be the return of Ricardo Pepi?
Oh, jeez, please no.
So we'll have to wait and see. Even as it is, the North Texas team that we faced has always been a challenge. All of these games have been tight. Even the very first game of the season, where we won 1-0, scoring was it towards the end of the first half or very beginning of the second? We ended up with quite a bit of time where we had to defend and hold them off. It's very tight in the way that they've played lately. I hate to say that I'm kind of skeptical. I hope they prove me wrong, but it's definitely going to be a challenge. It's going to be a tight game, and one that should put on quite a show for the fans, even if it ends up as like a 1-0, 1-1 going to overtime and penalties.
Well, one thing about North Texas is when you don't factor in the MLS possibility, they still have a very balanced team. Their top goal scorer Rayo is at 7, but then you've got Kazu at 6, and you got 5, several at 4. Same with assists. 5, 4, 4 chances created. Hernandez at 32, but then Waldick at 27, Rayo at 24. So what my point is they have a lot of options coming in, and so it's kind of like a Hydra. If you take, if you impact one, you've got some others who are ready to rise up again. That was it. I think nothing else.
That's all you got? No more Hydra references?
No more hell. No, because I was thinking about the actual Greek myth, and then you guys are thinking I'm talking about the Marvel Nazis and stuff. And so
yeah, I was.
I know. And as soon as I said it, I thought, oh, they're thinking Hail Hydra. But I'm talking about the actual creature that Hercules had killed, but that's okay. Okay, so some animal there does not like hydras and don't like creatures.
I'm going to give you a little Soccer Chat history here. Those of you that may not know, our first official non-Soccer Chat member interview was with the head coach of North Texas.
He was a member of Hydra. No, just kidding.
Yeah, Eric Quill.
Neither Hydra.
They have
Marvel
had,
or the Greek myth.
They have had an interesting. How do I word this without being? Their coaching staff has been more engaged with our fans in the stands than you would expect a coaching staff to be, is I think a safe statement, as well as very engaged with our assistant coach throughout the game. They weren't big fans of his, it didn't seem.
I don't understand why.
Yeah.
He's adorable.
Yes, we like him. We like him.
Yeah, part of me is somewhat looking forward to that aspect of the game. Like, will we say something that'll get them mad and get, their assistant coach to get riled up? I don't know why, but I just enjoy that part of it. We apparently at the end of the Madison game said some things that made them mad. Maybe we reminded them that they're going to go home and that their coach is about to get fired. And don't worry, they'll do a yard sale and sell all your jerseys to make even more money off of you while they pay you crap. I don't know. They gave him a free beer, so there's that. It's like a bonus check. Yeah, I don't know. What else you guys got for tonight?
Cowbells on sale.
What's on sale?
Cowbells will be on sale.
Cowbells, yes,
at the
and
stadium.
they've got these like cardigan things, right?
Cardigans are great. But everyone get a cowbell. Make some noise.
That's right.
We've got a fever. The only prescription is more cowbell. I'm telling you, Red Wolves fans, you're gonna want more cowbell on the track.
All right, for
Explore
fans who are going there, remember to make noise before they do something rather than wait for them to do something, because when we make noise before they do something, often that leads to something. So don't feel like we have to hold back on the shouting and the chanting until after they do something great. If we start shouting and chanting ahead of time, that often, and I'm getting this from the players, spurs them on and it creates something great. So stay engaged if you're there on the pitch.
Yeah, my understanding is at this time there's not yet any sort of planned tailgate beforehand, because a number of those that are involved with the tailgate are also involved with the Rebels Academy, who for the most part will all be in Knoxville, myself included. Fortunately, a number of our games are going to hopefully start on time and be done in time for us to make it back down here for the actual game time. So I don't know if anyone's planning that or not outside of the normal group that's there to tailgate. That said, be there don't show up at 7:30, show up at 7. It's when the game starts. Make a ton of noise. We look forward to seeing you. Let's win this game. Let's go to Greenville and win that game. Let's root for Tucson or Richmond to beat Omaha, and then let's host a championship and have a lot of fun.
Okay, so do you guys have predictions? Score predictions?
We'll let you go first,
Jeff. I don't
Jeff.
want to share it.
Okay, I'm going to go by we have beat them 1-0 twice, and I think we had 2 1-1 draws. So I am going to be the optimist, and that's because I already got my reservations set out in Greenville for next weekend. So I'm going for a 1-0 Red Wolves win, and it will be ugly.
Okay. Alex, me or you next?
You.
All right. I've got us going down early, them parking the bus, and Juan Galindrez tying it up in the 80th to 85th minute. Goes to extra time, and we win it 2-1. Because we save Hernandez and Galindrez from the 16th minute on, and so their fresh legs take out the young bucks during extra time. All right, Debbie Downer, what do you got?
I have a gut-wrenching 1-0 loss. So, Biggleswade report.
Whoa. Okay. Unfortunately, I understand your reasonings for that.
You do? Really?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Right, we're just going to start this.
So, Biggleswade FC unfortunately lost a nail biter in penalties in the Southern League Challenge Cup. All the teams are in action this weekend. Another shout out to our Biggleswade report group in the Hamilton Forge, being the first Canadian Premier League team to qualify for CONCACAF Champions League. Way to go, Hamilton Forge. And FA Cup first round proper going to be starting. This is where the professional teams start to get in there. Our London friends in Leyton Orient going to be taking on Ebbsfleet a couple more weeks before the Premier League teams join the FA Cup, but that's this Saturday as well. That is your Biggleswade report. Did everybody else go away?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are back. Okay.
Sort of back. There we go.
Shout out our buddy Chris Nunn. Haven't had a chance to mention him much, but Nunny, we love you. Good luck this weekend with Biggleswade Town. Once the Red Wolves finish their season in the next 3 weeks here, maybe we'll have you on. Talk some soccer.
That'd be fun to do.
Also, the 3 weeks part would sound even better. You can come celebrate our championship.
Yes. I would love that. I would love that.
And on that note, bye.
So I'm the only one not going to Knoxville. So if I'm late, it's like because I'm really, really lazy.